Well, hello there. Good evening and happy Saturday night on the East Coast and actually Sunday. It's technically Sunday morning here from Central Virginia. My name is Vinny Cravassi, and I'm here tonight to do one of my first videos, having a discussion about music, about my favorite band, and that is Rush. I think I've dabbled a little bit with videos where I talk uh, about Rush. I think I might have done one video or a couple of in the past, but it was just like messing around. And I'm kind of messing around here too. The majority of my videos, if you go on my YouTube page, is mostly me performing my own original music on acoustic guitar generally. There's a few other ones where I'm jamming on electric and playing, just jamming out and stuff like that. And other than that, maybe some travel videos or whatever, goofing around. But tonight, I like to begin by making a video discussing my favorite band, Rush, and their album Signals. I've been noticing a lot of fans doing videos where they're talking about different aspects of, Rush fans anyway, and I figured talking about different topics about the band, from albums to songs to everything in between. So I was like, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. And I might not have a group here, but I'm going to just do it by myself. However, as far as group videos, group webcams, but as far as you out there, I'm new to YouTube. I don't have a gazillion. I don't even have 1,000 subscribers or anything like that. But this video will be available, going forward. So whether you're hearing this now or tomorrow or 2, 3, 4, 10 years from now, you could always jump into the comments and have a discussion about this with me and tell me what you think. And that's what this is all about. I'm here to discuss my story with the album and my story as a Rush fan from my point of view. But those listening, by all means, love to hear your story as well, because I love hearing other people's stories about where they were when they first heard an album or song or a tour or whatever. Anyway, I'm gonna jump into the topic, and my favorite band is Rush. Uh, I am a musician, and they're the reason I'm a musician. And I have seen the band 26 times before they retired, thankfully. Every tour since Grace Under Pressure. And but the thing is, it all started with this album, Signals. When I was 12 years old. This is the front and back of the record here. I have the record here now. When I first got it, it was on cassette. But I will backtrack. I'll get to that in a minute. Um, this is where my journey with Rush began. Is with this album, Signals. Um, it was my first Rush album and my gateway album into the universe that is Rush. Alex, Getty, and Neil, Canadian band from Toronto. And what drew me in was the song Subdivisions. Um, Now, to backtrack a little bit, at the time I was 12 years old, beginning junior high school. It was a new time, and I had heard of Rush before. I knew of them, you know, but it was more in the background. Like I wasn't paying attention that much. More of a peripheral thing where I heard them in the background, like Tom Sawyer and Limelight mostly. I knew about moving pictures. I knew, other people had it. Um, Like I said, I've heard them here and there, but I wasn't really paying attention. Wasn't listening to it. I was already, excuse me, fans of other bands, of the time, other rock bands, Journey, Van Halen, things like that. But Rush, I really didn't get into that much. But then one day, I remember New World Man when it was released, too. But the song Subdivisions when it was released on radio, uh, it just blew me away. It just changed. It changed my life. It was always like whenever it came on, it was like, what the hell was that? Like, what is that? I remember I had a boombox, and I would, you know, tape songs off the radio. And I remember just being like, oh my God, I have to capture that song. I have to get that song. Because just the sound, of that song, the keyboards, blew me away. And, it's kind of funny because Signals is where Rush really got into keyboards in a big way. And but I didn't know where they were coming from. I didn't know. Like I said, whatever they did before, I kind of knew in the background, but didn't matter. Didn't matter what they did in the past. This song blew me away, and it was just the music. Um, like I said, the layers of synthesizers and the textures and everything, and the drums and everything. Getty singing, it just drew me in, blew me away, and my whole life changed from there. Um, and then seeing the video, because I remember the video came on MTV around the same time. Uh, it definitely. I didn't know the lyrics by heart by that at that point, but I could tell the song was hitting home with me, growing up in the suburbs and stuff like that. So even though I got the basic gist of it, like okay, this song is like about living in the suburbs and stuff, and most of me and my friends and Rush, the guys in Rush, grew up in the same thing. So it was like this universal thing of in America and probably a lot of other countries. So anyway, it hit home. That song hit home, and it started with that. And a few months later, I got the tape. Now I have the album here now, but when I originally got Signals, it was on a cassette. But anyway, so it all started with that, and the rest of the songs grew on me slowly over time. But Subdivisions was the first one. Like I said, I can't say enough about that song, about just how much it just I never heard anything like it. The way that Oberheim synthesizer. I mean, I could almost swear that Getty using that sound influenced a lot of the other bands to use it, because I know all the bands were using it, but I didn't really notice any other bands using it until that song came out. So even like even a band like Van Halen using it on Jump and stuff, like they didn't really use it until Rush did it before them. So I think they kind of influenced a lot of bands to play keyboards in the rock format. That's another thing about Signals. This is a time when Rush was really changing from what they did before. And again, as a fan, from this, because this is what this video is about. It's about the way I see this band. I had no idea about their past. I had no idea there was this band that the singer used to sing really high, and they used to play really heavy rock and really complex rock, and like 10-minute songs, and like albums where they had like between 4 and 6 songs, and all these epic. I had no idea about that. It was just like I didn't. So there wasn't this bias. A lot of fans sometimes come into an album and they're comparing it to everything before. And with me, it was like this is just there was none of that. So it was like I was a clean slate. I could just take it in and enjoy it. Anyway, so that's my. It was my gateway. Like I said, it was my gateway into the land of Rush. Now, like I said, the videos were really great. Mostly two videos. Subdivisions was really cool. Show, like I said, talking about the living in the suburbs and the high school halls and all that stuff. All that stuff hit home. But the other one was Countdown. That was the other great video, and I thought that was really cool. And I think as I've gotten older, I really appreciate that song and video a lot because it captured a really cool time in our history with Space Shuttle Columbia. What a great time to be alive. And this band was conscientious enough to get into that. Uh, and put it on a song and put it on an album. So I thought that was really cool. That video is awesome. It gives me goosebumps every time I watch it. Um, and the album cover is really cool. I think it's very simple kind of thing. The picture inside are really cool too with the band. I really like I said, it kind of it goes with the music really. This sort of almost futuristic vibe. Because at that time, that's kind of what the early '80s kind of felt like. We're kind of in the future now, kind of thing. We felt like that then, like now it's like we look back at it and it was just like this cool decade. But but again, the song. Let's go down to the songs. So those are the two videos, Countdown and Subdivision. Now the rest of the album, you had Analog Kid in the two slot. Now that song took a while to get to grow on me, but over time, um, it's a killer. I mean, it's a killer second track. It's a great, and when you combine it with Subdivisions, it's a great one-two punch. You know, and it's a great guitar track actually. I think it's a really jamming riff in the beginning there, in the verses. Um, Alex's guitar solo is absolutely killer. Um, and the keyboards in the choruses are just again just like with Subdivisions. They're just like it takes you to another world. It really does. I remember when they brought that song back on Counterparts tour, and even before that on the third leg of the Roll the Bones tour. When they go into that chorus live, it's just there's nothing like it. The crowd responds to that. As soon as they go into that part, everyone's because they know everyone gets it. It's like that feeling that Rush gives you. There's a certain rush, no pun intended, that give you goosebump feeling that really no other band for that's how it is for us Rush fans. There's a certain feeling that they give us, a certain just goes through your body. There's this goosebumpy thing, chills up your spine, just blowing you the fuck away, like kind of feeling. And that's what that chorus has in Analog Kid, I think. And then, like I said, the verses are really just. Uh, I talked about Alec, but also Getty's Rickenbacker just really sounds really tight, airtight. That's another thing. The band and Neil. I haven't talked about Neil that much, but Neil's drumming. I'm so sorry. Neil Peart, man. That's the one thing I jumped out about this band and why it blew me away too is the musicianship grabbed me right away. And Neil Peart on Subdivisions and then Analog Kid, so tight with Getty and Alex. It's such a tight unit. Um, anyway, moving on for the songs. Chemistry. This song, much like Subdivisions, is very keyboard heavy in the intro and the choruses, and utilizes some really cool lyrics. That was one of the few lyrics where mostly Neil Peart, mostly Neil Peart writes the lyrics, but in this song, um, the whole band chipped in. You know, um, But once again, and I believe the song came out of a sound check jam or something. But you can kind of hear it. It sounds very spontaneous and very. I love the sounds on Chemistry, like the guitar sounds like just out of this world. He's got a nice echo. I think he used the echoes of the mountains outside of the studio to get that echo sound, like he did on Limelight. But yeah, just and there's different influences on this album, like reggae and ska, and you hear a lot of that in Chemistry during the pre-choruses. The verses are kind of very rock, very rocking out, but very in a modern way. It's very modern sound. That's what I like about this album. This is modern sounding. And hello there, Catherine McLaughlin. How's it going? Um, but yeah, Chemistry. The verses are really cool. The way they have that nice beat going, very trio sounding. It's so funny. A lot of people talk about signals and everything in these albums. This era that was began with signals. Oh, it's so keyboard heavy and everything. And yeah, it's keyboard heavy, and this album's very keyboard heavy. But there's a lot of aspects of this album that's very where the trio part of Rush does come into play. Like I was saying before about Analog Kid. I mean, it opens up bass, drum, guitar. It sounds pretty typical Rush right there, and also in the verses in Chemistry. But and then once you get to the pre-choruses, you got like this sort of reggae ska kind of vibe, which they were really into because the Police were really big, and that they influenced everybody. They influenced everybody in the '80s, and Rush were no exception. But I thought out of all the bands, though, Rush took that influence and did something really cool with it in the best possible way, in my opinion. I think they took that Police influence and put it in their music, and where Getty's whacking his bass heavy. It's just more, it's more of a Rush way. But and then the choruses are awesome. Um, very modern sounding, and the guitar solo is one of his best ever, right up there with Limelight. Very cool song. Next song is Digital Man. And once again, this is another song, very bass drum guitar heavy. Now it's a little more, like I said, pastel with the chords, and a lot more of the reggae coming in, but great feel. I mean, the feel. Oh my God, it's so to die for. If you're a bass player, if you're a guitar player, if you're a drummer, Neil Getting and Alex musicianship is so amazing. It's so different from what they did before. I can understand fans from the that are into the old stuff being like, "What is this?" But to me, I just it's so tight. It's so like concise. That's the thing about these albums. I don't think they're really any that less complex. You know, simpler. I don't. That's a tough word to use because I think it's more concise with these the albums that Rush made after Moving Pictures. The stuff is more concise, but it's very complex. I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a ton going on. It's not easy to play, but very fun song to play if you can get it down. Some of these parts. Digital Man is one of those too. Now, I just want to backtrack a second. I haven't really been getting into the lyrics too much, and that's because naturally with me, even all through Rush's career, all through the years I've been listening to him, I always gravitates towards the music more. I'm always thinking of the music. I guess because I'm a guitar player, even though I write lyrics, the music is always my natural instinct to be drawn to. Even though I'm obviously aware of Neil Peart's lyrics being so amazing um, and everything. So mostly I've been discussing here is the music aspect. And if you ever hear me talking about Rush, a lot of times I'll be doing that, talking about the music a lot. But lyrically, the songs I think with this album. at least the songs I've been talking about here, are very very direct. As far as very like where people can relate to it. The average person can relate to it. Once you get past, I mean, he obviously has a lot of metaphors and his lyrics can be complex, but I think he does it in a way where he's not talking down to you or nothing like that. Um, and even if you just listen to the song, I mean, it's just you can pretty much, you know, get something out of it. We go, yeah, I get where he's coming from. Subdivision, like I said, suburbs. You live in the suburbs. That's all you need to know. Suburbs. It's that's enough said, right? There's so much encompass that. Analog Kid. I think that song can mean a lot of things to a lot of people, but I think it's like looking to the future kind of thing. Wondering what's my life gonna be like in the future. I remember being a kid and being like, wow, what's life gonna be like in 10, 15 years? Um, Chemistry. I'm being very, very quick in general. I'll probably get to the lyrics in more depth, probably in another video, if I can. But chemistry speaks for itself. I think it's about just people mingling with people, in life, and just yeah, whether it be in a relationship or relationship, whether it's male, female, or just friends, whoever. People interacting with people, all different types. And then Digital Man, switching to that again. I always understood that this was like it was meant to go with Analog Kid as kind of like a companion piece or something. And I picked that up. Yeah, like whereas Analog Kid was looking to the future, a Digital Man's like, all right, this guy is in the future. He's a person now. He's grown up and going through his life in a more modern, even more modern world and stuff like that, and dealing with that. That's kind of what I take of it. I don't get, like I said, I don't get too deep into that song. I'm always like with Digital Man in particular. I'm always gravitated towards the music because it's such a jamming song. Moving along though, side two, The Weapon. Oh my God, one of my favorite tracks of all time. Um, I remember reading one time someone said that they thought, oh, this is the closest they came to disco. Hogwash. I don't care where he got the drum beat, Neil Peart. He got it from a drum machine or whatever. I don't care what it is. The Weapons are one of the most unique Rush songs and dark songs that they have. Goosebumps galore. Everybody shines on this song. It's part two of Fear, by the way. The Fear trilogy. I'll get to that another day. But this was part two of that, and it's one of my faves on Signals, no doubt about it. Now this one, the lyrics, probably my favorite on the album, although after Subdivisions, because Subdivisions hits home so bad, so much. But the Weapon, dealing with fear and dealing with sort of fear being used on the people from corrupt governments and people in power trying to control people with fear, and you see it today, especially today with it's like fear mongering, and stuff like that. Um, but talking about all the different types all through history and stuff like that. Um, I think it hits home, and Getty's conviction with the way he sings the lyrics is perfect, But my favorite thing about the song is the music. The music is so haunting, especially Alex Lifeson's guitar. I think it's one of his best guitar solos. It's such a different solo for him, using the volume swells and all these different like things that he's doing. It's, again, um, he's one of my favorite guitar players, by the way, and I'll get to that. That'll be a whole nother discussion. But one of the reasons is that he is because in the '80s, obviously, you had a lot of. I'll talk about this time and time again with Alex. There's a lot of in the early '80s. It was all about pyrotechnics, right? Because you had Van Halen. He's been out for a few years. Randy Rhoads. You know, a little later on it was Ingve, but yet all these guys like Eddie and Randy, you know, fast playing and modes and scales and hammer-ons and everything, and that was great. They're two of my favorite guitar players as well. But Alex, I love so much because no matter what anyone else was doing, going in one direction, going in the Van Halen direction or Randy Rhoads direction or Ingve direction, with pyrotechnic, Alex, on the other hand, was into atmospherics and playing with chord melodies and playing with textures and giving the other guys in the band, like knowing when not to play and letting the other band members shine and playing off of them and like, you know, just making like really cool riffs and like other stuff like that. And then coming up with these guitar solos, like in The Weapon, come back to the song The Weapon, where it's like he's playing stuff on this song like no one else plays, you know. Um, I mean, it's Alex. This is when you think about what's Alex like, The Weapon guitar solo is Alex. That's quintessential Alex Lifeson, especially in the early '80s. You know, um, really awesome. But then the other two, Getty and Neil again. The one thing I always loved about Rush, the first thing that jumped out at me about Rush, that while this album, hearing these songs, before I even knew a lot of the older songs, was the fact that wow, they got like the best players in their band. You know, they got arguably the best drummer in rock, arguably the best bass player and musician in rock. He's playing keyboards too and doing all these things. And Alex too, who's one of the greatest guitar players as well. Um, that blew me away. So musicianship, it made me want to be a musician. I started playing guitar right away. Right away, I wanted to be a guitar player. Started taking guitar lessons like a couple months after the sound came out. I was like, Mama, yeah, got me guitar lessons at the local music store and everything. So The Weapon is no exception. All these songs on this album, the musicianship is so tight and so like unbelievable, you know? And they might not be as busy in terms of like compared to like their older stuff, you know, like La Via Strangiato or Hemispheres, but they're very busy. You know, they're still very busy in their own way. Um, you know, it's just more concise. That's the thing. It's more concise. They're busy as hell. Probably just as busy, if not more busy, in a lot of. I don't mean to contradict myself. The older stuff, you know, I'll get back to that. Is like so much going on, obviously, but with this, it's just more concise. More concise. It's like cramming in whatever they did on a 20-minute song like Hemispheres, doing that but putting it in like a 5-6 minute song, you know, and that's hard to do, and they do that flawlessly on Signals. This is like the first time when they really started doing that. But The Weapon was no exception, and Neil and Geddy are so locked in. If you listen to the verses, Geddy, whatever Neil does, you hear Geddy's right there with them, you know. That's probably true of pretty much all their career, but especially when you get into these '80s, the precision. It's so precise. Um, and the next song, New World Man, is no exception. This is a last-minute song that they wrote because they needed one more song. This was the first single for the album. Um, you know, it's always thought of as being one of the more popular songs. I know the band wasn't particularly crazy about it, but they brought it back in the set a bunch of times. I think it's a fun song to hear. When it's one of those songs like New World Man is one of those tunes where the radio, if they happen to play Rush at all, that's one of the songs they might play because the radio loves playing anything that's 4 minutes or less, you know. But the one thing that's great about it is if it comes on, there's actually a lot going on, especially with Alex and well, I'm sorry, with Neil and Geddy. Neil and Geddy shine on this song in a big way. Now Alex, on the other hand, no, he's not doing any crazy guitar solos or anything like that. But the one thing about Alex you got to remember is again knowing when not to play and knowing when to let the other guy shine. And New World Man is a perfect example of that. But Alex's part, and on the second side, it happens a lot, especially the last three songs. Alex Lifeson is the glue in Rush. He is the glue with his rhythm guitar playing, which is so underrated. I mean, because he's having in a trio setting, playing parts that sound like more than one guitar player. And in this album, it's a very angular kind of thing, but it's amazing. But New World Man's like that. It's a very simple part by Alex that he's playing, but he's like the glue and giving space for Neil and Geddy to really shine. And they do. When you see the song live, too, Geddy's just killer on the bass, and Neil's killing it on the drums. And Alex, he's kind of chill. It's a chilled out part for Alex, but it's letting those other two guys do that. And same thing on the next song, Losing It, which is a total different song. Losing It. That's a song that took me a long time to really get around to. I'll be honest, when I first got the album, I didn't really get it right away. I used to always kind of skip over and go right to Countdown because I didn't really get it, you know. And I didn't really know Ben Mink's playing on the electric violin. I didn't even know that was a violin when I first heard it. I thought maybe it was Alex. But the song was kind of weird to me for a long time when I was younger. But as I got older and I listened to it, because that's the one thing about albums is like you buy an album, right? When I got the album, I went straight for Subdivisions or Analog Kid or New World Man. And then the rest of the album takes a little while to kind of grow on you. And Losing It was probably the last song that really grew on me. I think it was usually when I was just listening to it. Just try. Sometimes you're afraid to listen to something. You know what? Just put it on and just listen to it with an open mind, and you'd be surprised. But Losing It's one of those songs. It's very melancholy. Obviously, the subject matter, losing it, about being good at something, being great at something, and then not being able to, you're setting a bar and you're not able to be up to snuff later on in your life. You're not able to be as good as you were, kind of thing. And losing it, and the lyrics, I mean, which I'll get to another day into more depth, are just really, really, it's an emotional song. But again, I gravitate towards the music, and as I've gotten older, definitely the music is definitely killer. Love that they played it on the last tour, the 2015 final tour. Finally, live version is actually better. Actually, great. There's some great odd-time signatures in there. Neil's playing it during the violin solo is just, it's like really old school in a way. And again, Alex again, he's you know he might have looked back at it like, oh man, I wish I did more, but he's again allowing the other guys to shine. And his guitar playing is very sparse, but it's kind of again the glue. And his little bits in the song still give me goosebumps. Still give me like, he does that a lot in Rush's music. There's songs where maybe Alex is chilling out. People call it maybe like it's holding back, but it's more of a chilled out little part. But it works. It works. Moving on. And one other thing about these discussions, I will revisit this discussion, and maybe cover aspects of it. Because I could talk forever about Rush. That's the thing about Rush. It's such an important part of my life that I could talk forever about them. So I'm not going to do that now because we only have so much time. And but if I ever revisit it, or some other aspect of it, lyrics or something, I'll do that. So anyway, moving on. A Countdown. Very exciting song. Very great. A really good closer, too, for this for Signals. Great video. I think the video and the song. I think the video is where I saw the song. Really got into that song. With the video. The video was such a perfect video showing Space Shuttle Columbia. And again, growing up in the early 80s, it was such a great part, such a great time to be alive with that going on. And the song is just awesome, And it's another thing about Rush, like they're so unique. Like they're so like not going by the book when it comes to lyrics. Because you got plenty of bands, and nothing wrong with it. Because I like other bands that sing about the typical things rock bands sing about. You know, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and chicks, and you know, banging chicks, and rock and roll stuff. You know, partying and everything. Whereas Rush, they gave you more of something for the thinking man. I know it's been used a lot, but that's another reason they're my favorites. Because they're not just phoning it in with lyrics. Neil, when he puts lyrics, he's actually putting lots of thought into it, and lots of time. And with Getty discusses it with them. They go through a lot of. It's well crafted. That's the thing. He's a craftsman. Uh, but Countdown, it's a great reflection of when they went to the launch because they were at the launch for real. Um, Another thing that's really cool about the launch, it has another, and I'll bring this up when I talk about the next album. Red Sector A, a lot of people don't know, is the area where they went to check out the launch is called Red Sector A. That's where they got the title. That's where Neil got the title, which I think is really freaking cool. That's an actual, that was an actual area where by the shuttle called Red Sector A. So that's kind of cool. But that's on the next album. We'll talk about that very soon. That's another very important album in my life, in the journey, my journey with Rush. But Countdown, again, and I think it rounds out the album. And I think the one thing that's cool about the album, the song, the musicianship, like I say, is great. It's another song with Getty. This song can really shine. Let's Getty shine. It has a big keyboard solo, even bigger than the one back in. I didn't really talk about it, but there's another solo in Subdivisions. It's more of an interlude part. It's not really a solo. Alex has a guitar solo, but Getty has the two interludes in Subdivisions where he's playing the mini Moog line, which is so amazing. So I don't care what anyone says. I love keyboards, okay? And I hate it when people say, "Oh, the keyboards, it's not real." I know even Alex has said that, but come on now, he knows this not true. That keyboards, they have their own way of hitting you emotionally. It's different from a guitar, drums, bass. I get it that those are acoustic, but it's a different thing. And for me personally, anyway, I love it. That's the thing about this album and this era. I jumped into this album, and it's because I love keyboards. I already was a fan of Genesis before this and other bands, so but Getty's playing, come back to this, I digress, on Countdown is amazing. He always says, I don't know, he's that good of a keyboard player. Hogwash, Getty. Hogwash. Because his keyboard solo is amazing on this song. And his bass playing, I love when the bass comes in after, which is like the chorus to me. It's funny, this song has a weird structure to it. Uh, it's really hard to tell. Like, is this a verse? But the one riff that's on the bass and then on the keyboard, similar to what they do in Tom Sawyer. It's like that motif comes back on the keyboard. Love it, love it. That's always my favorite part of the song. And again, Alex is just holding the fort, being the glue. He probably would have had a guitar solo, but instead Getty got a solo. So again, it's his way of just like stepping back and letting the other guys shine a bit. Now, obviously, looking back at it, I know that Alex always said that he said for some reason it didn't work or whatever. I don't know. I understand that. I understand that. I can totally understand when a player hears something and feels later like I should have done more. But you know what? That's where the headspace it was at the time, and he more than made up for it on the next bunch of albums. We'll get into that later. But anyway, this was Getty's time to shine, and like I said, the keyboard solos are great. Um, but overall, Countdown, great vibe, and I think it fits in with the rest of the album. Like I said, a very for Rush, it was a very modern sounding album. The lyrics had a more modern vibe and kind of hitting home with the fans in a more direct, concise way. Um, and just having this vibe of like the future, the present, but also the future, and stuff like space exploration and digital man. You got this vibe of like this sense of like looking to the future, but also analog kid. Even though that's another song, looking to the future, wondering what life's gonna be like, living in the present but thinking about the future kind of thing. New World Man. So it's a very modern album, I think. Mostly. But that's mostly the songs. The tour. I didn't get to see the tour. I was too young. The New World tour. I remember being in seventh grade, but having friends that were older who were able to go, being like, "Yeah, man, we're going to see him tonight," and I'm being like, I was that kid that wanted to go and couldn't go. Now, thankfully, a lot of the shows and stuff are on YouTube, so I could go back and at least get a taste of what they got. But yeah, I didn't get to see the tour, but I've seen it on YouTube and stuff like that. And it looks like they had a lot of energy and it was a lot of fun. Especially the radio when they came back for the week in New York City for Radio City, which was it was a part of the Signals tour, but also a prelude to Grace Under Pressure. But no, I didn't get to see the tour, but the set list was really cool. It was a nice sort of mix of new and old stuff. But we'll talk about more about concerts later. But generally speaking, I like to talk about the songs. And then, and by the way, like I said before, whatever your take is on Signals Rush, all you Rush fans out there, a lot of my discussions will mostly be about Rush. I may or may not. I'm not. I'm sure I'll talk about other bands and other stuff like that, but mostly my discussions on be about Rush, because that's the one band that I could just talk forever and not shut the fuck up about. Is talking about Rush because they're my favorite and my passion for them is such. So, but at the same time, I would love to hear in the comments your take on it. Where were you when Signals came out? You might have been older than me. You might have been those kids that were a couple years older that went to the concert, or maybe you were someone who got into them years ago during 2112 or Fail with the Kings, and you grew with them, and you still into them and Signals. Well, maybe you weren't. Maybe you were like, oh, this is so different. Because I know there's a lot of fans who weren't into the keyboards and stuff like that. I'm one of them, but this is that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk because there's different points of view with the fans. People jump into the journey with Rush. People jump into Rush from different times, different albums. And this was mine. But I'd love to hear your take on where you came into Signals and what you thought about it. You might have gotten into it a lot later. You might have been, you know, before. You might have been a Rush fan before I was, or after I was, while I was growing up. So tell me your take. Tell me your stories. I don't care how long I won't get bored. I promise. I love reading about where you got to see him and everything, and where he picked up the album and where you heard the song the first time. For me, it was just on the radio, but whatever. Like, I love hearing everyone's stories. But what else could I talk about? Yeah, it's about it. Like I said, as far as the Rush themselves, Alex, Getty, Neil. Um, I know that they regard this album as. First of all, I love their attitude when they made the album. Getty always. My favorite thing is when Getty talks about the fact that they didn't want to make Moving Pictures Part Two. I have total respect for Rush because of that right there. Now, all three guys did not want to just phone it in and make another moving pictures. They could have easily done that. And I've seen other bands do that where they have a successful album and they make another one like pretty much just like it. Now, a lot of metal fans kind of like that. They kind of want their band to do that. Not Rush. Rush has always been a band from day one. I mean, you go from Rush to Fly By Night, the first two. I'll get into this later on when I talk about those albums. And then every album after that, they're all different, man. They're all different. It's a different vibe with each one. You go from Fly By Night to Caress of Steel. They made it 6 months later. Totally different vibe. Totally different vibe. But no exception with Signals, you know. But I love the fact that this is different though because they had moving pictures, which was like quadruple platinum or whatever it was, and they took a chance. They took chances, and I love them for that. Bands that take chances, don't be complacent. Don't just do what everyone. Don't listen to nobody. Just do what you want to do, and that's what they did. And they made an album that was fresh and interesting, and in the era of the '80s, there's probably other albums after that I like better, but it all started with this album. You couldn't have done it without Signals. But I love that about the guys that their attitude into making this album was to try some new things, you know. And but I know that Alex has, like I said, looked back at it, being like, I wish I could have played more. The guitar was louder or whatever. Um, but I'll tell you what. I'll tell you their opinions are mixed on the. They have mixed feelings about Signals. But I'll tell you what. Whenever they played any of the songs from Signals in their later tours or whatever, especially like on Snake Hours, like they did Digital Man on that tour, or Analog Kid or the Counterpart, always huge with the fans. I always thought it was awesome. I mean, Snakes and Owls tour, Digital Man was the second song in the set. And I thought that knocked me out. That was awesome, you know. I always love whenever Rush revisits those albums, like Signals, Grace Under Pressure, Power Windows. I always get a kick out of that. That's the thing about this era. It's my golden era of Rush. For other people, it's the '70s. For me, it's the '80s, and it includes the previous albums too. Because I did obviously go back and get into the rest of their albums, like Moving Pictures, and Permanent Waves. But that took time. But I'll get into that in another video or something. But I'm just talking about the opinions of of the band. It's mixed, but but I generally think that whatever they thought about it, I don't think they regret it. I just think that Rush always is not complacent. They always look back at their material um, when they're making an album. They make it and then they move on. You know, they go on to the next album and they go, well, where could be better? Like that was cool, but we could do better than that. They never sit back and go, yeah, I'm great. You know, they made moving pictures and they're still like, oh, we could do better than that. There's another better Rush song in there. Just gotta find it, you know. So I always love that they might even feel like, oh yeah, this is our best album, man. This is great. But I think Alex in the interview even said that yeah, a year later I might not feel that. A year later, I might feel completely different. And they've always had that attitude. It's a lack of complacency, you know. Um, anyways, but that's about it. Just wanted to talk about this album, Signals, which is a big part of my life. And I know it's a big part of a lot of other people's lives too, because Rush is a huge band, and Signals. I know at the time it didn't sell as much as Moving Pictures, but it still sold a lot, and the videos were big, and the tour was big, and it was a big album. So, but yeah, and tell me what you think in the comments. And this is my first time discussing music or talking about music, talking about Rush. Um, so I know it's not perfect, but I'll try to improve it as I go along with future videos. I definitely want to make more videos where I discuss Rush. Most of them will be about that. Occasionally, I'll talk about other things if I desire, but mostly I'll focus on Rush because it's the easiest for me because it's just like I think about them all the time. They're my favorite band. But like I said previously, I've just done mostly performing videos, and I do plan on getting back into that at some point, where I play more of my songs and stuff like that. I've kind of gotten away from it because I moved recently, and I'm still trying to just settle into my new place and everything. But in the time, I'll get back into playing and making more music videos where I perform my songs on acoustic or electric or just jamming out or whatever. But I definitely want to get more into this, talking and discussing my passion and my favorite things. And I'm sorry if anyone's out there. If I bore you, then I really I'm sorry, but not sorry. But Rush is my favorite band, and I would like to think that if other people are Rush fans, that they can relate to what I'm talking about, um, and stuff like that. So hopefully uh, you'll be into it. So, anyways, check out the video, like and subscribe, please, because it helps me. I'm very new at this, and it would be nice to build a little audience. I will definitely. This is my first time trying to do this. I'm not trying. My first time doing this, so in a big way, um, having a discussion, a long discussion, and I do plan on making more. I don't know if I'll make them every day, but I'll try to make one every now and then when it hits me, and try to get better at it and work on getting better at it, improving with everything. But be honest with you, I like the simplicity of just throwing the thing on like this and not going crazy over green screens and stuff like that. Um, but I will make more very soon. And if you have any ideas about what you'd like me to talk about when it comes to Rush, we could do that. And hopefully, if I can get some more fans, you can join me when I'm talking live, and I can see the comments and bounce ideas off of you, instead of me just gabbing, talking to the phone. um, but even although like if you comment after the fact here, um, like I said, more than happy to read your comments, and I will. Uh, I'll talk to you. Like I'll definitely try to my best to respond, so we can have a conversation because that's what this is all about. Is having a discussion. It's not just me talking, but it's also bouncing off of the audience, whoever's out there. That's about it. I think the next time I come back, I would probably like to talk about the next album, Grace Under Pressure, which is a very important album in my life. I'll get into that the next time, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to do. So stay tuned and have a good night, and uh, see you later. Bye.